Okay, now let's look at the graph. This particular file comes with a graph. So one tab is called break even, and these are the numbers that we've been working with. But these numbers have been graphed in a graph that I configured for you. So this shows you, for example, the number of gallons being produced, the fixed expenses at each level of gallons that I'm producing, the ingredients, what they would cost, the total and the fixed expenses, the fixed and the variable for the total expenses, and the total revenue. Looking at a graph, here's what we would see. What we would see is at the bottom of the graph, we have something called a legend. All right, so this tells us that the red line stands for total expenses. The gray line stands for total revenue. The top of the graph tells us how many gallons of shimmer, this product, have to be sold in order to start making a profit. Now keep in mind that in the very beginning, we had $0 in total revenue and about $4,000 in total expenses. That's how those numbers got there. So you're basically looking at $0 in total revenue and $4,000 in total expenses. And it's graphed the same way for 2,000 gallons, 4,000, and 8,000 gallons. Now between 0 and 4,000 gallons, you'll notice that the revenue line is always lower than the expense line. That means that you're losing money. At 8,000 gallons, the revenue line is higher than the expense line. You're making money. At 4,000 gallons, the two lines cross each other. There's a name for that. That's called a break-even point. So basically speaking, that was what was happening. We noticed in number 10, all right, we click on the graph sheet and we notice the break-even point. You may even want to write down the number 4,000. In number 11, what we're going to do is decrease the $4,000 to $3,000 and notice the effect on the graph. So let's go back to our file. Let's go back to break even. So now instead of the fixed expenses being $4,000, we're going to click on 4,000, change it to $3,000. All right, we're going to find a place with cheaper rent. Go back to our graph. And we notice that our break-even point now is a little bit lower. Maybe it's only 3,000. That's good because the minute I sell my 3,001 gallon of shimmer, then I start making a profit. Before it was 4,000. Let's go back to the exercise. Now we're going to decrease the cost per gallon from 2 to 1 and see the effect on the break-even point. Okay? Go back to the break-even point. Here's the cost per gallon. We're going to change it from 2 to 1. All right? So we're going to use cheaper materials to make our product, for instance. Let's see what effect it has by going to the graph. All right? And now you'll notice that the break-even point is about 75,000. That's pretty good because we don't have to sell as much to make a profit. Let's increase the sale price from $3 to $5 and look at the effect. So we go to the break-even point. There's the $3 selling price per unit. Click on the 3, type a 5, press enter. All the numbers recalculate, go to the graph, and you'll notice that now the break-even point is even below lower than that. It's about 50,000. That's pretty good. So the idea is you want to make that break-even point as low as possible. Next, you're going to print the entire workbook in PDF format because you're going to need to upload it to Blackboard. You're going to use the file name break-even analysis followed by your first and last name. Okay. Here's how we do this. You're going to go to File. You don't need to save anything. It saves automatically. Print it out and show a printer-friendly view. Now, instead of the active sheet, you're going to print the entire workbook. Instead of portrait, you're going to select landscape. The paper size, instead of being A4, I'm wondering why this is not moving anywhere, is going to be letter. So just type the letter L if it doesn't go there. And there's no need for any scaling. Okay, so we're going to print it out. Now my computer does a very good job of printing. It will give you a copy of the sheet and a copy of the graph. You're now going to save it. And again, save it to your local device in the downloads, let's say. Click on the file name. I don't like that file name. So I always give you a file name that I want you to use instead. If you look at my directions, I told you to call it break-even analysis. So that's exactly what you're going to type in there. Break-even analysis followed by your first and last name. Click Save. And it should download. You could even close out this box. Now, once you're done working with an exercise, you could simply return back and go back to the Office document that you had there. And you notice it even keeps track of your files. So if you ever want to open up that file again, you just have to click on that link. Next, you're going to download the write-up for this file from Blackboard and save it on your device. And I think we did that already by going to the folder. And the write-up is, this is our write-up file. What we're going to do is we're going to upload and open it. And we're going to pick that write-up file that I just pointed to. Give it a couple of seconds. It'll upload it. And it will open it up in Microsoft Word. Now, if you want, you have your file right here. You have a PDF file. Chances are you can open, sorry about that. All right. Go to the Downloads folder. open the file that has your name on it, and you can view it. Pull the tab apart so you got two separate windows. I always prefer to work with two separate windows. You got the spreadsheet here, you got the graph here. This is basically what you're going to be submitting to me, and by looking at this spreadsheet and the graph that go with it, you would be able to do these sentences. Okay, once the sentences are done, all right, and all your answers are in here, you would basically file and print that write-up and again you would save it with a file name that I would give you. You'd save it somewhere on your device. I always recommend the downloads area. And you would give it the name Excel Lab 2 Write-Up with your first and last name. And you would click Save. Now remember, everything has to be done when you do that. If it managed to print out correctly and that box came up, you would close this out. Otherwise, you would hit this particular link to open up that box again. You could, once you're done, close it out. Close out this document.